All right guys, welcome back to another video. The last time you probably tuned in, we were on the road to 500K per month. In this video, I'm sharing with you guys the roadmap to 1 mil a month. I'll be honest, we got pretty bloody close, 440K in sales. I'll put a video over the top of this video showing you Mechanic Desk where we hit those numbers back in February. And to be honest, I lost a little bit of momentum in terms of not with the business, but up here because I wasn't aiming high enough. Okay, so what we're doing now, we're aiming for $1 million per month in the next 3 to 6 months. And the reason that I've got this sort of like fire in my belly again is for a few reasons. But the first reason is one of my clients in Auto Cartel said to me, he said, why don't you scale Alpha Tires? Like if you've got the playbook and you know how to scale businesses, because we've got like nearly 70 people inside of Auto Cartel now, why don't you prove it in your own business? I took that to heart. And like, even though he was being genuine, I was like, you know what? Bro is right, 100%. And I've accepted the challenge. And this, guys, is the first phase of our $100 million acquisition plan. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to scale our business, Alpha Tires, to $1 million per month in the next 3 to 6 months. So I'm going to share with you guys how I plan to do that, what I've already done to get started. We're about a week in now, and I'm going to share you step by step how we're going about it so that you can too. Just to give you guys some context on how we got to 440K in Feb. In March, I think we got just over 400K in sales. But we had a healthier GP. I think we did like 180K GP in March, which is awesome. I'd rather make more profit than turnover any day of the week. But vanity metrics, everyone's always talking about sales. So we're going for the $1 million a month. So for the infrastructure for us to get to 440K in Feb and over 400K in March, in terms of like human beings, that was like 10 people on the team plus me and my wife. So 12 people in total. We've just recruited another 2 people because I'll be honest, even at 440K in sales, there's leads that are slipping through the cracks. We could 100% do more. We just haven't had the capacity. Like in terms of inbound leads, like we get over 1,000 phone calls every single month. We get like 1 million views per month on social media organically without any paid advertising. We've put on 1 more salesperson. So we've got 3 people in the sales team at Alpha Tires. Plus me and my wife, if we're in there as well, we'll be helping with the customer service and sales as well. And then we've got 1 more on-site fitter. So we can keep up with fulfillment so we can start going after some bigger commercial contracts. We made that decision before I actually decided to accept the challenge. And the challenge, is to hit $1 million in revenue for the month in the next 3 to 6 months. And I'm like, with everything going on with AI and stuff like that, and I guess everything that I've learned over the last couple of years scaling Auto Cartel, which is, very high level digital marketing, I'm going to bring that high level digital marketing to your typical boomer business, Alpha Tires. So we do tires, mechanical, auto, electrical, on-site truck and agricultural tires, pretty much a one-stop shop for automotive and trucks and tractors and that sort of stuff. First things first, I need to get a clear strategy on how I plan to do this in the next 3 to 6 months. If I want to scale it exactly the same way that we got here to 440K, which we did with pretty much no paid advertising, by the way. It's just sort of grown through reputation, doing a really good job, niching down, especially with the on-site truck and agricultural 24/7. We're like the only people in the region that do that. This many people, and then doubling the business, it's going to be a very hard task. So my strategy that I've got very clear on is that we're going to be pushing a lot more wholesale. So we're going to be doing wholesale through digital ads, which means that I've had to set up a few landing pages, which I'll go through shortly. If you are sleeping under a rock, I don't know if you've heard about Claude AI, OpenClaw. The stuff that's coming out now is like literally going to change the way that people do business. And I think that's what's given me the confidence to be able to say, I can actually do this in the next 3 to 6 months. I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit vulnerable because there's a chance that I don't pull it off, but what do they say? Aim for the sun, land on the moon. Even if it grows us to 6, 7, 800, I don't really care. It's going to move us in the right direction. I'm going to learn a lot. You guys are going to learn a lot as well. So stay tuned. Claude AI, Claude.ai, if you haven't fucked around with it, that's where I've built all of my landing pages. So I've got 3 landing pages that I've put together, literally created them like within hours. Before discovering Claude AI, guys, like I would have paid somebody probably $1,500 to build a landing page. It would have taken like absolute best a couple of weeks to be able to get them to put it together. I proof it, they make adjustments and all that sort of stuff. I did this, it didn't cost me anything, and I did it myself in like the space of hours. It's crazy, it's crazy. That's what I've used to build the landing pages. I'm not a tech whiz. I'm good at marketing, I'm good at sales, I'm good at small business, but I'm definitely not a tech guy. This is something that anybody can do. What landing pages have I created? I've created the wholesale regional landing page. I've already deployed that one. It's ready to rock and roll. It's going, it's got ad spend behind it. But then we got to think about, okay, the realistic infrastructure that we're going to need, even though we're pushing for wholesale. So the area that I've got this in at the moment is pretty much all of like central, north, regional Victoria. In Australia, that is. So, and sort of southern New South Wales, like right on the border there. My plan is to take over and monopolise all of Vic Regional with the truck and agricultural on-site tyre game. This is how we're going to do it. I'm running ads for wholesale. Okay, so the main landing page that I've got for wholesale is for really cheap 11R 22.5s, which is like the most common trailer tire on the market. I've got them for $199 plus. Everyone thinks I'm mad and everyone's questioning how I'm making money out of it. To be honest, we're making about 10% out of those 11Rs. But in the digital marketing space, that's what we call a self-liquidating offer. Okay, so a self-liquidating offer is essentially when you market something that is like ridiculous value, people buy it, you don't really make a lot of money out of it, but that covers the ad spend to be able to scale. And we know that we're going to form relationships outside of the sale of that one particular item, because they're going to need drives, they're going to need steers, they're going to need tractor tires, they're going to need, you know, potentially mechanical repairs. And so it's a lead magnet. It forms relationships, it pays for the ad spend, and it's really part of the macro plan. So if you're not into marketing, people seem to think, oh, how are you doing it that cheap? But they don't realize the marketing strategy behind it. That offer is what gets the people in the door to form those relationships, because it's not going to be forever. But once we get those relationships and we provide a good service, then guys, like, they're going to be coming to us for years on end, and we are going to be making up for the margin on other products. Yeah, we're scaling wholesale, obviously, but I've got on the landing page, if they wanted to get it fitted locally in Echuca, or if they want us to come out on site in like an adjacent town, so like an hour away from where we are, like Shepparton, Bendigo, Cobram, Jerilderie, something like that. And so it's a bit of a no-brainer that, like, if we're driving that sort of traffic in the door, then we are going to be getting some more on-site service. We are going to be attracting more customers to our business. And so recruiting is inevitable. So we really have to be being proactive there. So literally at the same time that I launched this landing page for the wholesale, I'm like being aggressive with the recruiting. So our recruiting strategy is like nothing that anybody has seen before in our industry. Okay. We're not just employing people and, you know, they're on a salary and they're just labor. What we've got with our recruiting scheme at the moment is essentially equity partner program. So basically they come into our business. Obviously we're going to vet them and make sure that they're the right candidate and the right fit for this model. But we vet them, they come in, they do a 6 to 12 month training with us. They're obviously going to be on the tools. They're going to learn our systems and processes, all that sort of stuff. We're fully vetting them over that 6 to 12 months to make sure they're actually rock stars. And then if they're the right fit, they're the people that we're going to be slotting in when we start to acquire new locations in adjacent towns, and they're going to be taking over those places. One thing that I've discovered over the years with employing people and trying to scale is you've got to have things in place that instills confidence in your team, that they know they're part of the journey. And as you grow, they're going to grow as well. So they get a profit share. So as soon as they've gone through the vetting process over that 6 to 12 months and they start in that location and take over as a manager there, they're going to be on a 20% net profit share. And then every year they get an extra 5% in net profit until year 5 when they're at 40% net profit. And then they get the opportunity to become an actual equity partner in that business. Okay. So it won't be just a profit share. They'll actually be a partner in the business. So we've got a few things covered there. We've got an ascension opportunity so that we're recruiting people that like really want to grow and get better in the business. And we're also got like a bit of a loyalty thing there where it's like, right, if you stick around for 5 years, you know, we can build a solid relationship with you in our business and you're going to be part of that business as well. Third landing page, which hasn't been deployed yet, is our national container drop shipping. So I'm negotiating with our supplier from importing tires from China. So basically this landing page here is going to be Australia wide, and we're going to be essentially running ads so that we can drop ship containers worth of tires anywhere in Australia. To do that, we've got to come up with a bit of a pricing matrix that we can plug into the back end of the landing page to really try and reduce the amount of friction and time it takes to get these deals. Because although like a container, a 40-foot container is anywhere between $60,000 and $70,000 a pop, the margins are going to be pretty slim on that. Okay, realistically, we're looking at around maybe not even 10%. All right. So yes, we're going to hit the revenue target. The margins aren't going to be there. So we need to make sure like this might not work. Okay. So the cost per acquisition, depending on the ad spend, depending on what it takes to acquire that customer, it might not be there and it might not be profitable. It's going to be a bit of a learning phase for all of us. I'll share all the details with you, but if it works and you know, we can still make our 5 to 10% just through paid acquisition, it's literally just phone calls, lead management. We're not doing any heavy lifting at all. Then as you can imagine, turning over $1 million a month is pretty achievable, but it also buys us better buying power because we're doing massive volume. And so our margins in other areas are going to get better. Okay. So when we're doing the retail, when we're doing wholesale and smaller quantities, those margins, what were once maybe a lead magnet, we're making 10%, we might be making say 15% or more. Where are we deploying the landing pages? We're running meta campaigns and we've got them plugged in to a CRM called Go High Level. So Go High Level we've used for Auto Cartel for digital marketing. For Alpha Tires we use Podium, but for when we're running these digital ads, we're going to be running Go High Level. Basically create the landing page in Claude, we put the code into GHL and that deploys the landing page, connects to our domain and all that sort of stuff. And so when we get leads, they go into a form and basically that's where we manage all of the leads. So we've got like a funnel, we've got like the different stages that those leads are in. So whether they're new leads, whether we've reached out to them, whether we have to nurture them, whether we've lost sale 1 or whatever it might be. So far, we're a week in, I think day 6 or 7 or something like that. The campaigns we've been running with Meta, I've got about, I think 6 different creatives going at the moment. So aim of the game with digital marketing, the more variations that you have, ad creatives, basically your cost per lead, your ads don't fatigue as quick, okay? So you got more chance of like hitting a couple of winners, really cheap leads essentially. We're gonna be trying to add more creatives into that campaign, like on a weekly basis, like 5 or 6 new creatives every single week so that we don't get ad fatigue and it keeps our cost per lead down. Because at the moment, guys, like it's pretty wild. We've spent $375 on ads and we've got about $150,000 worth of quotes in the pipeline. That's massive. It's like 60 something leads, qualified leads that have given us sizes, quantities, locations. Some of it's wholesale, some of it's fitted on site. Yeah, pretty wild considering we've only spent $375. And guys, this is the stuff that like we're going to be helping our clients with inside of Auto Cartel now. We're going to be doing the landing pages, doing the marketing for you. Anybody that's serious about like scaling their business, especially coming into like this uncertain period in the world at the moment, we've got your backs and we've got the skills to be able to pull this off. $375 in ad spend, $150,000 in the pipeline, absolutely monstrous. The hard part about quoting, and this is in any business, especially in automotive, is putting together the actual quotes. To the heavy lifting, going into your supplier portal, working out how much it's going to cost, put your margin on it, all that sort of stuff. I've got a temporary triage process where I've just onboarded a VA, and guys, I've moved very quickly. I literally have done this in a matter of fucking days. And the VA, I've literally found him like on Friday. It's now Wednesday. Onboarded him yesterday. Full clear SOPs. He knows exactly what he's doing. I've sent him Loom recordings of exactly how I want him to do it through the CRM, both in Go High Level and Podium. So the triage process is he's got all of our supplier logins. So he goes into our supplier. I've given him a supplier matrix on like, different brands, which supplier to go to, budget, mid-range, premium, giving him a price matrix as well. He gets it all ready to rock and roll, and then he's going to deploy the quote into Podium. So he sends a SMS template that I've put together, which basically prompts the lead to give us a call when they got 5 minutes because we've got a quote there ready to go. And then on the internal notes inside of Podium, we've basically got all the details of that quote, the supplier that he's quoted it from, the cost price excluding GST, the markup, all that sort of stuff, so that when they call up our sales team, there's 3, 4, including my wife, they're basically going to, while they're on the phone, log into Podium, they can see the notes there, and they can, any questions that they've got, they know exactly what they need to deliver, and then they'll get the deal over the line. I am going to be replacing this dude, not replacing him from the company because I've got other stuff that I need him to do, but from this triage process at least, this was just like a quick temporary fix to get the ball rolling because like I wasn't expecting to get over 60 leads over the weekend, So I will be replacing this role with OpenClaw. If you haven't done any research with OpenClaw, it's like a crazy AI tool. I've got a Mac Mini on the way. It's basically like AI VA essentially. So you give it logins, you give it its own email, and it can do so many tasks like on your computer. It actually goes on your computer and does everything for you. So I don't know how much work's going to be involved in that. I'm going to be sharing that a little bit on Instagram, just documenting the journey with that one. But yeah, I will be able to replace a VA for this triage process. So yeah, then we deploy it into Podium. We prompt the lead with an SMS. They call when they're ready, or if we don't see them sort of call us back like within a couple of hours, then we're reaching out to them via phone. So giving them a call, and we're always going to be selling over the phone, guys. We're never SMS or email quotes, okay? Because it doesn't allow you the opportunity to problem solve and negotiate and objection handle it essentially. Because sometimes there's so many people that just lose sales because they're not really clear on the value or the deal that they're providing in the email or the SMS. And instead of like asking questions and problem solving and getting through those objections, the deal just slips through the cracks. So we're always going to be trying to give the quote over the phone, get a bit of a temperature check on the lead to see where they're at, what they're thinking. I guess if they get a bit of a price shock, if it's like too much, too dear, too cheap, whatever it might be. Once we've got the deal over the line, obviously, we're going to be measuring what our, acquisition costs are going to be. Okay. This all sounds great. Don't ever get like caught up in the cost per lead, because like at the end of the day, you can have really cheap leads, but if they don't convert into profitable sales, then like who really gives a fuck? This is going to be the big part. In the this week, we're going to be really finding out a rough idea on what our acquisition costs are going to be. We've deployed only about half a dozen of those 60 something quotes already. A couple of them seem pretty keen, but like we've got a long way to go to see how many actual sales we're going to get out of this $150,000 pipeline. So other things that I'm thinking about is like logistics and fulfillment. So, as we scale, we can't just sort of sit back, run ads and try and get more sales and not think about the other stuff that's going to be able to nurture that scalability and make it successful. So yeah, we're thinking about team, so the recruiting process, but I'm also obviously looking at another on-site vehicle or two, depending on how quickly we move, so that we can keep up with the on-site stuff that's coming through our funnel. But then we're also thinking about, if we're doing a lot of wholesale and we're importing containers ourselves, I've got a container landing in a few weeks, how do we sort of separate it from, I guess, just the chaos at our shop, and just manage the inventory at a higher level? So I'm currently looking at local factories at the moment for a couple of reasons. One, to split the wholesale part of the business so that we can really track the inventory at a higher level. And two, because I want to set up a really cool sort of YouTube and like content creation office space essentially for, this sort of stuff. So really excited about that. So guys, this is phase one of the $100 million acquisition plan. Guys, I want to take Alpha Tires to a $100 million national company. And so this is how we're starting phase one. The second phase, which I'm going to share with you later on in a bit more detail, we need to make sure that this funnel, this pipeline works out, okay? And it's profitable. And so what we're going to do is, like we talked about earlier, because we're running ads in adjacent towns, we're going to quickly see where we're getting the most market share the fastest. And that's probably where we're going to go after. And so our strategy, once we find that place, once we get this really refined and working and like cooking with gas, and we're genuinely scaling, week after week. And then we're going to be rolling out another campaign, another landing page. And this one's going to be essentially calling out small businesses in adjacent towns. I'm talking the boomers that are like 50, 60 years old. They're looking for an exit strategy. They're potentially even looking to close the doors because they don't have an exit strategy. And we're going to be running campaigns targeting those guys to basically say, look, we'll take it off your hands. We've got a 12-month exit strategy for you guys where we guarantee to take over the business in 12 months using a vendor finance management takeover scheme that I've put together. I'll share that in another video, but that is the plan. It's just going to be over the next 5 to 10 years, small business acquisitions, because guys, the numbers don't lie. At the moment, just under 50% of small businesses in Australia are owned by people that are over 50 years old. Okay. A quarter of small businesses in Australia, so 20 something, I think it's about 23% or something like that, or 25%, are owned by boomers that are over 60 years old. All these boomer businesses, they're on the backs of backs of boomers. There's nobody like coming up through the cracks. Very few people like ourselves that are like having a red hot crack and really continuing to drive these industries. If it's not us, then who's it going to be? There is just so much opportunity, and it's so exciting because the beauty of our business, especially automotive tires, like yes, EVs, Chinese vehicles, hybrids, all that sort of stuff, they're going to dominate the market share in Australia, but tires aren't going anywhere for at least, we don't know. But like we know that at least for the next 10, 20 years, agricultural machinery, trucks, like what are we going to be replacing those tires with? So for me, that's my focus. That is how I'm hedging my bets with everything that's going on with AI, technology, the economy. It's an essential service. And even if we are going to be taking a hit in the coming months with everything that's going on in the Middle East at the moment, those essential services are still, trucks are still going to have to move. Things are still going to have to move. And so I'm hedging my bets more towards the commercial game because I know that trucks and ag, no matter what, they're going to have to keep moving. And I want to double down on providing that service in Australia. I hope you got some value out of that. I hope you can see like what's possible essentially. I'm going to be trying to document this the whole way. Ideally, we're dedicating a full day every 2 weeks to just doing content. So I'm going to be dropping a YouTube video every single week, one YouTube video every single week moving forward. So guys, if you got some value, if you're keen to stick around and watch the journey as I scale Alpha Tires from about $500,000 a month to $1 million a month in the next 3 to 6, then guys, give us a subscribe, leave us a comment, all that sort of stuff.